Okay, so for number 3, we have 4 hamster acrobats are launched from a platform of different heights, each following different trajectories. So hamster 1, the flying fuzzball, travels a trajectory of h of t equals negative 1/2 x times x minus 5 squared plus 75. H of t is height, so that's the y-axis. The y-axis is height. And t, the x-axis, is time in seconds. The Squeaking Scorcher, hamster number 2, travels a trajectory of h of t equals negative 0.5 times x minus 20 times x plus 5. Where again, h of t is height, so the y-axis is height in feet, and t is the time in seconds, x-axis is seconds. Hamster 3 travels a trajectory of, this time we're given a chart with all these points. And we have hamster 4, where we're given a statement. So Al started 42 feet in the air and jumped to a max height of 56 feet from the ground, and it took him 3 seconds to reach his maximum height. So now, using all this information, we got to answer the following questions. So I'm not going to be able to refer back. I'm not going to be able to scroll back to the beginning, but I'm hoping you guys should all have it on one paper. So we got to answer the following questions about the 4 hamsters below. So for part A, we got to pretty much compare these 4 hamsters for all of these. So part A, what hamster started highest from the ground? So remember, the starting point is going to be your y-intercept, right? And to find your y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. Okay, so let's start with hamster 1, the flying fuzzball. So the flying fuzzball, he traveled the trajectory. I'm going to go ahead and do the flying fuzzball in red. So let's see, flying fuzzball. And again, we're plugging in 0 to find out where this hamster started, how high this hamster started from the ground. So his formula was negative 1/2 parenthesis, and remember we're plugging in 0 for x, so 0 minus 5 squared plus 75. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plug this in my calculator and see what I get. So that equals 62.5. So for the flying fuzzball, we plugged in 0 and we got 62.5. And again, that's our y-intercept, so that's how high he started from off the ground. So he started 62.5 feet off the ground, because remember the y-axis stands for feet. Next one we're looking at is the Squeaking Scorcher. I'm going to do this hamster acrobat in blue, so the Squeaking Scorcher. Again, we're plugging in 0 for the x's, because we're trying to find its starting, how high it started from off the ground. So his formula was negative 0.5 times, we're plugging in 0 minus 20 times 0 plus 5. Okay, so plugging that into our calculator, we get 50. So again, we plugged in 0 and we got 50. So at 0 seconds at the starting point, the Squeaking Scorcher is 50 feet up in the air already, off the ground. So now looking at hamster 3. So hamster 3, we're given that chart. So on the chart, we go to where t equals 0, right? Because again, we're plugging in 0. So when t equals 0, this hamster is 65 feet in the air, right? So we just plucked that information out of that chart. We didn't have to do any math there. We just had to read the chart. Right, and that was for the Wiggling Wonder. And our last hamster friend Al, so hamster 4 Al, it tells us right there in the first sentence that Al started 42 feet in the air. So Al started at 0,42. And again, that's just stated in the problem. We didn't have to do any math. Okay, so now we can go ahead and answer the question where it asks, what hamster started the highest from the ground? So looking at the highest from the ground, well, this one started at 62.5 off the ground. That was the Flying Fuzzball. Squeaking Scorcher started 50 feet off the ground. The Wiggling Wonder started 65. So far, that's the highest. And Al started 42. So we're just looking for the highest value, and it's hamster number 3, the Wiggling Wonder. So he started the highest off the ground. All right, so we just gotta. So the Wiggling Wonder started 65 feet off the ground. All right, part B. What hamster reached their highest height the fastest? Justify your work. So now we're looking for the highest height the fastest, and we know that the maximum, right, because we're looking for the maximum, we're looking for the highest height, occurs at the vertex. So we have to go ahead and start finding the vertex for each of these acrobatic hamsters. So now going back to the Flying Fuzzball. We have to go ahead and find the vertex for the Flying Fuzzball. So remember that our equation for it is -1/2 times x minus 5 plus 75. Okay, so just looking at this formula that's given to us, we know that it's in vertex form. Right, so the Flying Fuzzball is the vertex form. So in vertex form, we just take, for our x value, we take the opposite here, and we take the same value here. So the vertex here, again, opposite of -5 is 5, comma, 75. Okay, so when it's in vertex form, you can just go ahead and you pluck the vertex out of the equation, out of the quadratic equation. So our vertex for hamster 1, the Flying Fuzzball, is after 5 seconds, he's at a maximum height of 75 feet. Right, so it took him 5 seconds to reach his highest height. Now going on to the Squeaking Scorcher. His equation is -0.5 times x minus 20 times x plus 5. Okay, again, and this is in intercept form. Okay, so for intercept form, to find the vertex, we have to take the opposite of P plus the opposite of Q and divide it by 2. Okay, and remember that P and Q are the values here, the ones circled in orange. So we need to be taking the opposite of those. So the opposite of P right now is -20, is going to be 20. So I'm going to go ahead and write it up here. 20. Opposite of Q is -5, so 20 minus 5 divided by 2. Simplifying that out, that's 15 divided by 2, which equals 7.5. And again, this is just for the x value. So I know when I go to write my vertex, 7.5 is going to be my x value, so in 7.5 seconds, the Squeaking Scorcher will reach its maximum height. Now, we got to find the y to find the maximum height, and we got to plug in the 7.5 into this equation. So we're going to plug in 7.5 for x there, and for x there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my calculator and plug it in, do the math. Gives me 78.125. So again, after 7.5 seconds, the Squeaking Scorcher is 78.125 at its maximum up in the air. Okay, now looking at the vertex for hamster 3, the Wiggling Wonder. So the Wiggling Wonder, he was the one with the chart. So he travels that trajectory, and we're looking for the number where he reaches his maximum. So we're looking at the digits. At 0, he's 65 feet. At 2 seconds, he's 73 feet up in the air, right, which is the highest height value for this hamster. Then at 4 seconds, he goes back down to 65. So we know, because he goes from 65 up to 73, back down to 65, 73 is going to be our vertex, the y value of our vertex. Because remember, parabolas go in an arc shape. So for the Wiggling Wonder, his vertex is 2,73. Okay, so after 2 seconds, he's 73 feet up in the air. Okay, and looking at the last one, we're looking at Al. So again, reading the statement, started at 42 feet in the air and jumped to a max height of 56 feet from the ground, and it took him 3 seconds to reach that max height. So again, the x-axis stands for seconds. It took Al 3 seconds to reach his max height, and his max height was 56 feet. Okay, so now going back to the questions to start answering these, So what hamster reached the highest height fastest? So again, fastest, that means that we're looking for the seconds, and we're looking for the shortest amount of time. So which one of these hamsters reached their maximum height at the shortest amount of seconds, at the least amount of seconds? So now looking at the flying fuzzball, it took him 5 seconds to reach his height. Looking at the Squeaking Scorcher, it took him 7.5 seconds to reach the height, his maximum height. The Wiggling Wonder took 2 seconds, so far that's the least, and Al took 3 seconds. So now just looking at all this data, the one that reached its maximum height the fastest was the Wiggling Wonder. So we can say the Wiggling Wonder reached its max height after 2 seconds. All right, now looking at part C, it asks what hamster reached the highest height. So reaching the highest height, let's do this in brown. So if we're looking for the height, we're looking for the y value, right? Because the y value stands for how high the hamster went. The highest height is going to be the maximum, and again, that's going to occur at the vertex, and that's what we did for B. We went ahead and we found the vertex for each one of these hamsters. So now looking at the y value of the vertex, and again, we want to know which one reached the highest height. Well, the flying fuzzball reached at 75, the highest he went was 75 feet. The Squeaking Scorcher went 78.125 feet up in the air. The Wiggling Wonder went 73 feet up in the air, and Al went 56. So again, you're just looking for the highest. And for us, the Squeaking Scorcher. So we're going to say the Squeaking Scorcher reached a max height of 78.125 feet. And again, our work is justified in part B. So that's where we found all the vertices. All right, going on to number